Hi there, everyone. How are you today? Another episode 12 of Talking Watercolor with me, Rusty Nelson. And this is my last day, full day of my animation course with the 7th, 8th, and ninth graders up at the school. And I know I've been neglecting my channel. I've been doing some quick, down and dirty little videos I've been posting, getting out there, and I'm looking forward to next week. I can sit down and get to those bigger tutorials, those scenes that I know everybody's chomping at the bit for, and I am too. I'm ready to do some bigger watercolors on better paper and show you the processes to get to that point. And any of the things I'm going to be painting, they are going to be definitely chosen with the beginner and the intermediate student in mind, that the only difference is the skill levels that you're developing, and it'll give you a chance to jump into it at a beginner level, do it a time or two, and then develop those skills, maybe come back and address it again later after you've practiced other things where your skills have gotten better and you're more of an intermediate level, and do the same. I do that all the time. It's a good way of gauging how well you're developing skill wise with your watercolors, is to paint, have a subject matter you love doing, and do it again, paint it again, same composition, same lighting, everything. It's the only try to maintain, the only difference being is the skill levels and your understanding of the states and stages of watercolor as they are growing with your skills. So yeah, I know I'm definitely wanting to get in there and do bigger and more extensive tutorials for you and keep practicing my skill sets. It's amazing, even with the students up at the school with the animation, or when I'm teaching 3D modeling, it's the same process. It's the same stages of do something, do the ordinary, do the everyday, practice creating modeling and form and shape and colors, using all your skills you're developing, because it is like juggling flaming axes in the air and keeping them all in the air. Or if you're of a certain age, you might remember the old plate spinners out there. They put a plate, get them spun up on a long thin stick, and it would get the rolling, and he'd have like 12 of them going, and some of them he'd have to come back over and spin them, and they would get wobbly. That's what watercolor is. It's like trying to keep all of those plates spinning at once, because there's so many levels of information that you have to process and make decision on as you're going through your piece. And I always tell my students, and I know I've said this on camera a time or two, about, this is critical thinking on steroids, because you have to make critical decisions at just the right time for that piece to work, for all those colors and the states and stages to function together. You have to make good decisions. Those critical thinking skills are really at play when you're doing this. So, especially if you're working the whole stages and the whole states of watercolor, doing what you need to be doing with the wet on wet is definitely a critical thing. Then you can let everything dry and then come back in and start working with the detail and the stuff that's a little more forgiving on the back end of the piece. Although those decisions can be the things that make the piece pop. So yeah, it's definitely a skill set and things that you need to be practicing and getting better at. But I think, let me look here. Oh yeah, I'm not too far in. I thought I would spend a few minutes just kind of going over. I talk about all the stuff. I posted into my descriptions too for you to go look at. But I just thought I'd kind of hold up and show you some of the equipment and tools that I work with in watercolor. And starting with brushes, I've definitely have a whole range of brushes. I have a big flat wash brush here. Especially I use this. Again, the thing with watercolor is do not go to the small brushes immediately. You work with as big a brush as possible. So And I think that's another reason why some of the smaller pieces, when you're practicing little, maybe 4x5 compositions, is that your brush in proportion to the space you're working in is bigger. So when you start scaling up your pieces, you have to scale up your brush sizes as well. So that's where your inches, your 2-inch brushes come into play, or even your big mops. You know, you can lay down a lot of water and color with these mops, and then still get some detail with that nice pointy tip right there. So mops, flats. I have probably about five or six of the flats in various sizes, from 1 inch, 3/4 to 1/4. The mops I've got. Oh, what is this? That's an 18. I have a nice little mop here. It's a number 1, different brand. I think this is Raphael. This is this is a synthetic squirrel mop from Dick Blick. No, I'm not getting any commissions or being sponsored by Dick Blick. These are the brushes that I get there. I've got this. This is a Cosmo Top Spin flat brush. So oh yeah, I can't. Let's look here. What else? Oh, I also have a good sponge. Get a nice natural sponge. You can do a lot of textures with sponges. Those are fun. As well as I keep a fan brush and a fine liner right there. So those are fun if you want really thin, nice, if you're maybe making streaks of hair off of a portrait or something. That's the necessary little sucker right there. So yeah, a handful of brushes. You'll be fine. Don't think you have to have a whole bucket full of brushes for every little thing, which then also goes to, you've seen my palettes. I've got the big porcelain where I squirt all of my tube paints in. And again, with that, do not think that you have to have a massive amount of paint. If you work with red, yellow, and blue, black and white, have those 5 colors on your palette, you'll be able to mix up your secondary colors, your tertiary colors, and even develop your earth tones. Practicing making mud, that's where you'll really be practicing your color theory if you limit your palette like that to get the full range of colors, and you increase your understanding of color theory if you keep your palette fairly limited. Yeah, you've seen this. I've seen this all the time. It's a little pan I get from, I think I got this off of Amazon, and it comes with just primary colors and secondary colors, black and white in there. I supplemented it with ultramarine, phthalo blue, and some earth tones, yellow ochre, raw umber, burnt sienna, burnt umber, and sepia in here. So those colors, that's a nice set, and they're fairly cheap, 20 bucks. You can go for it. I definitely have my it's getting a little empty. These are Winsor Newton. I use M gram as well. There it is, right there. M gram. What are these? What's the tube? 14 milliliter tubes right there. And I have a whole pile. You know, here's the thing. I tell you don't worry about all these colors, and I got this thing full of colors, right? And I do have a lot of colors on my ceramic palette here. I started out, and I still have it over here. I have a plastic round palette that I used for years as well. I worked with gouache. Let me get those. Let's look here. Is that gouache? Oh, I'm sorry. That was gouache. I was showing you gouache. Here's my watercolors. Yeah, the M gram is definitely. Yeah, that is gouache. Sorry about that. That was my gouache palette. This is my watercolors right here. So that is an M gram, same brands, M gram, Winsor Newton. I've worked with, and I remember this was actually my first watercolor I bought. I worked for years and years with gouache, and my gouache techniques were evolving into more and more watercolor. So I bought a cheap brand. These are really vibrant colors though, the koi. I like them. So I still have a few of those left over. And yeah, that was kind of fun. Oh, here, yeah, don't forget, if you do buy a pan set like this, I also have the big, I gotta find it. This is actually I haven't opened this one yet, but I do have a big extensive pan of Winsor Newton colors. These are professional grade colors right there, and that's how they come all nicely wrapped up. It's kind of annoying because you have to unwrap all those little suckers and pop them in there. But you can also buy replacements for this. So when you get the tin and you've used up your color, you can buy replacement colors, or just simply get the pans and squirt some tubes into it as well. So yeah, there's all sorts of options, equipment wise, supply wise, but the best thing I think for when I'm working in studio, I like having that big ceramic palette. It doesn't go anywhere. That sucker, you can get in there and scrub around on. I also have a butcher's tray. You may have seen it back here. I'm doing huge washes, a butcher's tray is nice. You can mix up the colors. The colors flow out to the edges. They're designed like with a dome to it, so all the colors will ultimately pool in and around the edges of the butcher's tray. So I have that handy, ready to work with whenever I need it as well. And I just screwed up my audio probably with that big crash. So anyway, this has been kind of a hot mess tutorial, not even a tutorial, a discussion on things. But yeah, get a good sponge. You can do some amazing things with sponges, and everything looks good. What else? I can't think of any other supplies. Oh, did I talk about paper? No, I didn't. There's that Canson paper, right? That's that student grade paper. It dries quick, and again, there's reasons why you might want that, reasons why you wouldn't want that. I have the Arches paper as well. I haven't even opened that one yet. The Bohang, did I pronounce that right? I don't think I did. Let me look. Bao there we go. This is good paper. Really like it. It's got a good tooth to it so that, if you're doing a dry brush scrape, you want some of that nice texture on the surface of the paper. It really grabs it and it looks great. And then, of course, I have the two different types of Strathmore paper. This is the Strathmore 400, and this is the Strathmore 300 right here. So that's fun. I should have set up a secondary camera. So I'm doing this. There we go again. I'm pulling this out. This is extemporaneous review of supplies and equipment. So anyway, I just threw it on the floor. Just made a mess. Anyway, hey, I have almost burned up 15 minutes of your time and mine, and this has been fun. I like talking and going over the supplies and the tools that I have. But again, if you're just getting started, don't worry about how much equipment you have. Just get some medium grade quality brushes. It doesn't have to be the $20, $30 for a brush that you're going to be painting with. Especially when you're beginning, you're going to be beating the hell out of them and putting a lot of miles on those brushes. So get some decent synthetics, and they'll do just fine as you are learning and building your skills with your knowledge base and understanding of watercolor stages and states. And try it out when you practice up with the student grade or the intermediate grade stuff. Jump over, try a few things with the professional grade. You'll definitely see a difference, and understand why people would tell you not to use the cheaper stuff. But when you are just getting started, don't let that stop you. Just get the cheaper stuff, practice on it, and you'll develop your own opinions on it and probably quickly move past it. But that's okay. I like using the Canson paper when I'm doing demos in class, again, mainly because it dries quick and I can get something done within that 50-minute to an hour and 50-minute time frame that I'm with the students up at the university in class, that they can see a piece go from scratch to a finished end result within that one class period. And I remember that taking a number of years to develop those skill sets. So, all right, well, that's about 15 minutes of fun and extemporaneous speaking on my part. I hope this was helpful in some degree. So give me a like and a subscribe. And this is episode 12, and I'll see you in episode 13 coming up next week. See you then.